Dan Demand from Canada says, hey, hi, gents. Had a question about how to handle a mass page WordPress site in relation to 10 GMBs, all in a 30-mile radius of the center city. If I'm working to rank these 10 GMBs all for same niche, does it make sense to set up city pages? For example, remodelers.com/locations/city, and then point citations to those individual city pages. I was then contemplating 301 directing these city pages to the individual city GMB assets. Thoughts? Good idea. Terrible. Thanks, man. Well, I'm not sure why you would. I mean, if you're gonna build a page, a location-based page for each GMB, I'm not sure why you would redirect it. Why wouldn't you just use that location-based GMB or location-based page, excuse me, as the website, the landing page URL for the GMB asset? See what I'm saying? Like if you're building, I mean, unless it's because it's a mass page site that you're doing that, and it's a spammy type looking, or, you know, a spammy type site, which most mass page sites are. In which case I wouldn't build citations to that, because then what happens if you get that site de-indexed, which is very likely to happen, right? Mass page sites that happens to kind of regularly. And so if you're building citations to that and then you have to redirect it, what happens if it gets suspended or, de-indexed? Then you've either got to go clean up you can still leave it redirected, but now you're redirecting through a potentially, de-indexed domain, penalized domain. So I wouldn't do that. That's why I'm saying if you were going to just set up build citations, I would build citations directly to the GMB assets, or set up a domain with subdomains and have a separate subdomain for each location. Because that way, if any one of those subdomains, now you can't do that with them. I mean, I guess you could with a mass page site, but you're trying to do it all on one domain. So location pages is inner pages. But again, I wouldn't do that with a mass page site and build citations to it. Backlink, sure, because I mean, no big deal. But with citations, again, if you lose that domain, now you've got a whole bunch of citations to clean up, unless you left the redirect up through a de-indexed domain, which I wouldn't recommend doing. So personally, I would not do it that way. I would build everything, like if you were going to build out a self-hosted site for each location, I would do it on subdomains or not use a mass page builder, is what I'm saying. You guys, there's nothing wrong with creating location pages and having inner pages for multiple locations when you're building something out like this. The problem occurs is if you've got spammed map addresses, number one, and number two, if you're doing something spammy to the domain. But if you're keeping the domain clean, which is what we teach, right? I mean, we really do. We teach about keeping the primary domain clean, building your tier one assets out, and especially the way that we build them out, syndication networks, drive stacks, using press releases, citations also count, all of that stuff. Then you can do all your spammy stuff to that and keep your primary domain clean. G sites, that's a big part of it. So, but what I'm saying is you can build inner location pages and it's not going to be an issue as long as you're not doing anything spammy. Now, again, I want to say this with the caveat. If you are using GMBs that are spammed addresses, there's always that chance that they get suspended because they're not real physical locations. So in that case, I wouldn't want to have all of them necessarily associated with a money site domain, as opposed to, if you can still do it, but I would recommend doing it through a subdomain, even if it was just a redirect to like the GMB website URL, right? So that's, whatever your .business.site GMB website, right? You can still use a branded domain in that case and set up a subdomain redirect for each one of those to just redirect. I've got several projects like that where I'm using a branded domain. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because it looked like it was reset on me. Where I'm using a branded domain, but I use a subdomain with the city name for each different location, and the subdomain redirects to the GMB website. Like for a lot of my multi-location sites, guys, I got rid of the self-hosted WordPress sites for my lead gen stuff, especially because it's just an additional management piece of, something else that I have to manage and update regularly. You guys know how much WordPress updates, and I just got tired of doing it. And it's really unnecessary because we're able to get results with just GMB stuff, right? So for that, I've actually redirected, I've eliminated a lot of my WordPress sites now, and I just have GMB subdomains redirecting to the GMB website. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. I'm not a mass page fan builder or fanboy. You know what I'm saying? I don't like those just because they tend to get de-indexed, and it's a lot of work. And I've never had really good results with it unless I continually build sites that get taken down. So I can't really give you the best advice on that. I certainly wouldn't build citations to a mass index or a mass page type site. Any comments on that?
No, I don't have any because I don't use mass page builders.
Yeah.